There was once a gentleman who, after the death of his first wife, married the proudest and most haughty woman that was ever seen. She had 2 daughters of her own, who were indeed exactly like her in all things. The gentleman himself had a young daughter of a gentle and sweet temper, which she had from her mother, who was the best creature in the world. The wedding was scarcely over when the stepmother began to show her ill nature. She could not bear the good qualities of this pretty girl, for they made her own daughters appear the more hateful. She set her to the meanest work of the house, forcing her to scour the dishes and to scrub the stairs, to sleep in a sorry garret upon a wretched straw bed, while her sisters lay in fine rooms with the softest feather beds. The poor girl bore all this patiently, daring not to complain to her father, who would have chided her, for his wife governed him entirely. When she had done her work, she would sit in the chimney corner among the cinders, and for this reason she was called Cinderella. It happened that the king's son gave a ball, and he invited all persons of fashion to it. The 2 sisters were also invited, for they cut a very grand figure in the country. They were exceedingly pleased, and were busily employed in choosing the gowns and the headdresses that would best become them. This was a new trouble to Cinderella, for it was she who ironed her sisters' linen and plaited their ruffles. They talked of nothing else but how they should be dressed. "I," said the elder, "shall wear my red velvet suit with French trimmings." "And I," said the younger, "shall wear my gold-flowered gown with my diamond stomacher." They called Cinderella to ask her opinion, for she had good taste. Cinderella advised them as well as she could, and offered withal to dress their hair, which they were pleased to let her do. As she was doing this, they asked, "Cinderella, wouldst thou not be glad to go to the ball?" "Ah," said she, "you only jeer me. It is not for such as I am to go thither." "Thou art in the right," they replied, laughing. When the sisters had departed, Cinderella sat down by the kitchen fire and began to weep. Her godmother, who was a fairy, came in and asked what ailed her. I wish, but she could not speak for sobbing. Her godmother said, "Thou wishest thou couldst go to the ball, is it not so?" "Yes," cried Cinderella with a great sigh. "Well," said her godmother, "be but a good girl, and I will see that thou goest." She bade Cinderella fetch a pumpkin from the garden. Her godmother scooped it out, and having struck it with her wand, it was instantly turned into a fine gilded coach. She then looked into the mousetrap, where she found 6 mice, all alive. She gave each a little tap with her wand, and they were turned into fine horses of a dappled gray color. A rat trap furnished a jolly coachman with the finest whiskers imaginable, and 6 lizards behind the garden watering pot were turned into footmen in livery. Then she touched Cinderella with her wand, and her clothes became cloth of gold and silver, all beset with jewels, and on her feet were a pair of the prettiest glass slippers in all the world. "Now," said the godmother, "go, but remember well, thou must not stay past midnight. If thou tarriest 1 moment longer, thy coach will again become a pumpkin, thy horses mice, thy coachman a rat, thy footmen lizards, and thy clothes will return to what they were before." Cinderella promised faithfully and departed, her heart overflowing with joy. The king's son, who was told that a great princess was arrived, ran out to receive her. He gave her his hand as she alighted from the coach and led her into the hall, where all the company was assembled. There was immediately a great silence. Everyone left off dancing, and the violins ceased to play. So great was the attention that all paid to the singular beauty of this unknown guest. The king himself, as old as he was, could not help looking at her and whispering to the queen that it was a long time since he had seen so beautiful and lovely a creature. The prince placed her in the most honorable seat, and afterwards led her out to dance. She danced so very gracefully that all admired her still more. Cinderella sat next to her sisters, showing them 1,000 civilities, and sharing with them the fine fruit which the prince had given her, all of which greatly astonished them, for they did not know her at all. While they were in conversation, Cinderella heard the clock strike 11 3/4. She rose, made her reverence to the company, and departed as swiftly as she could. Being arrived home, she found her godmother, and after having thanked her, told her she could not but heartily wish she might go to the ball the following night, for the prince had entreated her. The next evening came, and the two sisters went to the ball. Cinderella went also, still more magnificently dressed than before. The prince was constantly by her side and paid her so many kind attentions that she lost all track of time, and thought that it could not yet be 11 when she heard the clock begin to strike 12. She jumped up and fled as lightly as a deer. The prince followed, but could not overtake her. She left behind one of her glass slippers, which the prince took up most carefully. Cinderella arrived home quite out of breath, with no carriage, no footmen, and in her old clothes, nothing remaining of all her finery but one of the little glass slippers, the fellow to the one she had dropped. The prince caused it to be proclaimed that he would marry whomsoever the slipper should justly fit. His gentlemen commenced trying it upon the princesses, then the duchesses, and then all the ladies of the court, but in vain. It was brought at last to the two sisters, who did all they possibly could to thrust their feet into the slipper, but they could not manage it. Cinderella, who saw all this and knew the slipper, said with a smile, "Let me see if it will not fit me." Her sisters burst out laughing and began to jeer at her. The gentleman who was sent to try the slipper looked earnestly at Cinderella, and finding her very handsome, said that it was but just that she should try, for he had orders to let every maiden make the attempt. He bade Cinderella sit down, and putting the slipper to her little foot, he found it went on very easily and fitted her like wax. The astonishment of the two sisters was great, but it was still greater when Cinderella drew out of her pocket the other little slipper and put it on her foot. Thereupon her godmother came in, and touching Cinderella's clothes with her wand, made them more magnificent than any she had before worn. The two sisters threw themselves at her feet to beg pardon for all the ill treatment they had made her undergo. Cinderella raised and embraced them and said that she forgave them with all her heart, desiring them to love her well for the future. She was conducted to the young prince in her beautiful garments. He found her more charming than ever, and a few days afterwards they were married. Cinderella, who who was as kind as she was beautiful, gave her 2 sisters lodgings in the palace, and that very same day matched them with 2 great lords of the court, and they all lived together in happiness. For Cinderella, who had known hardship, never forgot that a gentle heart, well guided by a godmother's care, is worth more than the finest gown in all the kingdom.